And what does a hitman at a Mexican cartel do?
You take care of the dirty work, you know. That means going into cities and locating these rival hitmen, these rival people or rival drug lords, and taking them out. So when you're working as a sicario, obviously there's rules that you cannot pass if you want to keep yourself alive, because it's a very dangerous game. Never get high with anything that they move, in order for you to keep yourself on guard and on point on what you're doing. Obviously, the people that would do drugs, you would see them lasting 3 months, 2 months. They would end up getting murdered.
Mexico just flipped the switch on a prison so brutal, it makes maximum security look like summer camp. Built to contain the most dangerous cartel leaders, this isn't just punishment, it's psychological warfare. Inside, sunlight is a privilege, silence is weaponized, and survival isn't guaranteed. You don't get reformed here, you get erased. So what's really going on behind the concrete walls? Let's take you inside Mexico's newest monster. This place isn't a cell block, it's a coffin with a lock. Cartel bosses who once ruled entire cities are now locked in concrete closets the size of janitor rooms. No windows, no voices, just stale air and walls that don't echo back. One former hitman described it like dying slowly with your eyes open. These are men who've chopped rivals with machetes, burned towns to send a message, and yet here, they beg. They beg not to be sent in, because this prison doesn't just isolate you, it disappears you. Even cartel executioners know this is where killers go to get killed by silence. They called the shots, ordered hits with a phone call, moved millions in drugs without touching a gram. Now, they're stripped naked, thrown into rooms no bigger than a bathroom stall. No phones, no visits, not even a sliver of light. Imagine being the kingpin of an empire and waking up to moldy bread and a bucket for a toilet. These men once had armies, now they have cockroaches for company. And that's the point. It's not about locking them up, it's about shattering the myth of power. Because here, even legends cry in the dark. La Mesa wasn't always like this. A decade ago, it was a cartel-run Disneyland. Inmates ran taco stands, brothels, barbershops inside the prison. Guards didn't walk the halls, they asked for permission to enter. Now, all of it's gone. Bulldozed. Replaced with something colder, quieter, and far more terrifying. The Mexican government didn't just take back control, they turned the place into a tomb. No more clubs, no more music, just locked doors and locked minds. The party's over. And in its place stands something far worse. A silence so loud it drives men insane.
We got this guy, young kid, came on the unit and he was mixed. And he looked Mexican. He looked Arab. He was so dark hair, just completely Mexican. His last name was like Rodriguez. He said, my mom's white, my dad's black. I never knew my dad. I grew up in the country. All I know is white people stuff. I don't hang out with those guys. I don't speak Spanish. They're talking cholos, San Antonio gangbanger stuff. I don't know anything about that. I'm a Peckerwood. And I went, oh man, this is a whole problem. Because I can check white dudes. White dude can go fight all day. That's nobody's business. Nobody cares. But you look Mexican. And if I go in the cell with you, these dudes over here are gonna have a big problem with that. And he wouldn't back down. I tried to convince him, like, dude, go. And I'd send Mexican mafia over there, talk to this dude. Convince him to sit at y'all's table so we can just avoid this. Nope, wouldn't do it. I said, okay. I talked to the Mexican mafia and I was like, this is what's gotta happen. I have a policy and I have to stick to it. I'm really live or die on this. They talked about it for a while and they came back and they said, do what you gotta do.
Enter director Cesar Daniel Ramirez Achedo, the architect of La Mesa's transformation. Not a warden, a war general. Since 2014, he's been orchestrating a crackdown so ruthless, even North Korean prisons would blush. Under his command, La Mesa became less of a correctional facility and more of a psychological meat grinder. Isolation isn't a side effect, it's the strategy. Stack them high, shut them tight, and break the spirit before the body. Ramirez doesn't believe in rehabilitation. He believes in removal, not from society, from identity. And he's got one mission: erase every trace of cartel pride, one locked cell at a time. Just a few miles from the US border, Tijuana feeds this machine like a slaughterhouse conveyor belt. Every turf war, every raid, every cartel skirmish ends the same. Men in chains headed to La Mesa. It's not rehab, it's recycling. The city bleeds out its gangland ghosts, and the prison swallows them whole. Teen lookouts, failed mules, ex-hitmen, they all end up here. Because when you're born into a neighborhood where crime pays and school doesn't, there's only one way the story ends. And the final chapter? It's written in sweat, concrete, and screams behind La Mesa's walls. Inside the new ultra-restrictive wing, Section 6, prisoners don't walk. They're shuffled like files. They're granted just 2 hours of sunlight a week, if that. The rest is spent in boxes. No clocks, no mirrors, no sound. Mold creeps up the walls like a disease. You breathe it in. It lives with you. The air? Heavy, still. Inmates forget what day it is. Some forget who they are. One guard calls it a controlled suffocation. The irony? Many prisoners here haven't even been sentenced yet, but they're treated like they've already died, because in Section 6, justice doesn't wait. It buries you alive. If you think the guards are running this place, think again. Former inmates say the real warden wears no badge. He wears inked sleeves and cartel loyalty. Guards look the other way, not out of greed, but survival. Families threatened, bribes offered, secrets traded. One officer confessed, "I follow orders or I disappear." And sometimes, the orders don't come from the state, they come from the cells. Cartel shot callers still run operations from inside, using smuggled phones, corrupt lawyers, and fear. You can lock a man in concrete, but if his money talks louder than your laws, who's really in control? Not everyone inside La Mesa is a cartel killer. Some just made a mistake in the wrong city. Take Taylor Elliott Howard, a U.S. Marine turned inmate, accused of stealing a car, now buried under layers of language, silence, and system failure. No translator, no legal aid, no calls home. He crafts jewelry to trade for soap. 9 men on his block have died from untreated illness, and yet he hasn't even seen a judge. For men like Taylor, this isn't prison, it's purgatory, and the only crime they truly committed was not having the money or the power to stay out. The government says this is about control, but what kind? The kind that strips a man of everything, then calls it order. This isn't about fixing criminals, it's about erasing them, erasing the noise, the risk, the humanity. La Mesa is a PR trophy for officials, a gleaming symbol of action in the war on cartels. But behind that symbol lies rot, medical neglect, mental collapse, suicides no one investigates. Families left without answers. Hope is contraband here, and dignity is extinct. This isn't justice, it's optics. And if the goal is to break men down until they're ghosts, it's working. Some inmates don't even want to leave, not because they love it here, but because the outside world is even scarier. Technology changed, their families moved on. The streets they ruled are now run by younger, hungrier killers. Reintegration doesn't exist. One woman, Dolores, has been in for 25 years. She said, "Out there, I don't know anyone. In here, I know the routine. For others, like Abraham, all they want is a different prison, just one with water, maybe a window. But transfers don't come easy. La Mesa doesn't open doors. It closes futures. And for most, it's already too late."
I was sleeping in a cell with 27 people, bro. I tied myself up to the bars of the prison to sleep because everybody was standing up. That's how tight it was. I was tying myself and I was trying to put myself comfortable to sleep when I see this brown Mexican guy and he's like, "Who's Smiley?" I'm like, "Man, why do they keep looking for me?" I'm like, "I'm Smiley, what's up?" He's like, "Where you from?" "I'm from Guerrero." "I'm from Guerrero too." He's like, "Get your stuff." He's one of those type of men that likes to pluck his eyebrows, keep them clean. He calls me always like, "Come to my cell." He was living by himself, had a TV, a plasma TV, had everything. And I'm like, "Hey, I just want to let you know I ain't gay, homie. If you try to do something, we're gonna get down." Because obviously I saw that he was kind of like that. He's like, "Nah." He's like, "I'm a cook. From now on, you're gonna roll with me." All right. And I became good friends with him. But then after that, I got sent to maximum security.
La Mesa isn't the end of the story. It's the factory floor where trauma is mass-produced and sent back into the streets. These men don't leave better. They leave broken, angrier, and more dangerous than when they entered. Mexico didn't build a solution. It built a pressure cooker, and every day, it gets closer to exploding. If this is how we fight crime, by creating monsters in concrete cages, then we're not winning the war. We're feeding it. For more shocking, untold stories like this one, hit that subscribe button. Trust me, you won't want to miss what's coming next.